My name is Samuel Babatunde Ogunro. I'm the shepherd in charge of CCC Winners Parish, London. My history goes back to around 1969 when I first had a taste of this church, Celestial Church of Christ. Throughout the ranks, from the choir to parochial committee as a prophet, over the years, I've worked under many of the senior hierarchy in the church in the fold. I started this officially as a prophet in 1979. I first of all received the Holy Spirit and I started prophesying at a very, very young age. Since then, I've been working as a prophet in the church until it actually came as a message that I need to be carrying the cross. Although I ran from it many times, and the incidents happened to reprimand me spiritually. And finally, I had to give in. I worked under certain many shepherds before actually starting my own parish in 2005. It's been a hard battle and a hard struggle. But when you are called, you don't look back. You know God is always there. You always see the storms and always overcome them. The church, as the Celestial Church of Christ, is a very powerful church. And if you refuse the call, there's a way that God actually deals with you. I was working in the House of Parliament. I used to write reports for the then Prime Minister John Major. I had access to 10 Downing Street. And if you have heard of the World Health Organization, WHO, I used to write statistics for them also. I used to write reports for the Prime Minister to answer in question time in the House of Commons. And one afternoon he just called me and said, "Mr. Ogunro, we have no more use of your services," because I refused to listen to the call. Then I started doing part-time jobs, post office, just to see ends. I didn't want this job. I was feeling that I already had a call as a prophet. I was doing more than enough. I was in the choir doing a lot of work there. So, also, I was a choir master for 10 years. Many of the artists you see now, I trained them. I trained many prophets also. Eventually, I had a very fatal accident in my car, which was the last result, and I just handed over everything to Christ and said, "Yeah, I'm ready." And since then, I've not looked back. I have no other job. I don't do part-time work or anything. This is my full-time job. And since I've started this job, I've never, ever one day borrowed money to eat or anything like that. And we thank God for that. Thank God. I feel to discover your call, you must have been told spiritually via messages, spiritual messages, or one or the other. And also in your dreams yourself, or visions that God would have shown you certain things that you see yourself doing. And I've had those messages from even before I was born. While I was in my mother's womb, she told me that many messages were coming to her that I will be doing God's work as a prophet and as a pastor. Also, the messages came out through various prophetess while I was in my proceedings in the church. Eventually, to recognize it, you have to actually just stay on that road and continually do the things that you feel that you are good at in the church, and don't be influenced by other people that are doing other things that are negative. Once you stick to that road, the time will come, and when God calls you, it will be a day you will never forget. Just like Saul was changed to Paul on the road to Damascus, he knew straight away that this is my call, and he didn't look back. That's the way I see it. The Bible tells us when Samson was born and called, there were certain things that were given to him as doctrine. And his parents did tell him that, look, don't cut your hair, don't drink strong drink, etc., etc. And for you to keep in that calling, you have to be obedient. The most important thing in a call is obedience. If you obey God and the instructions He has given you from the birth, you find out that without going off those instructions, you will not go astray. And anybody that has this call needs to be obediently, totally to God. Once you can do that, God is always behind the obedient servant. And that's the way I feel you can do and be in your call.